Sometimes it hits like a sudden storm, a quiet fracture in your world that leaves your chest hollow and your hands empty. You can be standing in a room full of light, yet feel a shadow settle across your skin, a cold realization that all the giving, all the effort, all the tenderness you've poured into someone else has not created the bond you believed it would. You thought love was earned, that devotion could be measured, that loyalty could tip the scales. You believed if you were patient enough, present enough, loving enough, there would come a moment when he would look at you and see not just a partner, but the woman who changes his very life. And yet somehow he leaves or lingers without giving himself fully. And the question you cannot shake is why. It is a truth that few speak of and most refuse to hear. Effort alone does not generate love. You can create a world for him, a sanctuary where every need is anticipated, every craving for attention or affirmation met before it is spoken. How you can laugh at his jokes even when they are not funny, support his dreams as if they were your own cook, his favorite meals, and listen with unshakable patience. And yet the deepest chamber of his heart remains locked, untouched, unshaken. It is not because you are not enough, or because you failed in some hidden measure of affection. It is because love, real love, is born in a way that does not respond to effort, but to significance. A man begins to love fully only when he feels that his presence matters not in the utilitarian sense, but in the core of being the sense that without him the world shifts, that the absence of his life leaves a quiet, aching emptiness that no other could fill. We are taught that love is fair, that it rewards the patient, the loyal, the giving. Perhaps this is why heartbreak feels so personal, so laced with shame. We blame ourselves, questioning if we were too much or too little, too soft or too demanding. And yet the cruelty of this misconception is that it lulls women into a tireless cycle of proving themselves as if love were a ledger to balance. You give, you bend, you offer, you adapt. And in return, sometimes you receive silence, distance, or a presence that consumes but does not reciprocate. This is not failure. This is recognition of an emotional pattern deeply woven into the dance of connection. True love does not emerge from comfort, nor from the anticipation of needs, nor from acts of service, no matter how devoted. Comfort can be lovely, it can cradle it, can soothe, but it cannot stir the soul. To create love, one must awaken an internal movement in the other, a quiet turbulence that makes him question, if I lose, will anything else ever feel like this again? This is not a calculation nor a performance. It is the subtle trembling of recognition, the kind of awareness that cannot be bought, bargained for, or forced. And here lies the tragic irony. The more you give in order to prove your worth, the more you may unknowingly silence the very space he needs to invest, to act, to choose. There is a certain heartbreak in realizing that effort is not currency in the world of the heart. A man may desire, admire, even declare love, yet remain unbound, uncommitted, and unreachable. And the pain of this is not in the lack of beauty or charm or devotion, but in the misalignment of emotional logic. Love arises not from what is done for a man, but from what he feels he contributes to the existence of something unique, irreplaceable, alive. It arises in the invisible space where he knows he is not just tolerated, not just needed, but significant in a way that no other presence can replicate. And so we are left with the quiet lesson. The tragedy is often in the overgiving, in the suffocating, in the constant filling of space that should have been left for him to inhabit fully. Real connection is not built on completing someone else's life, but on inviting them to become part of the story while maintaining the integrity of your own. It is an intricate balance of presence and space offering, but not surrendering loving, but not obligating being whole, but allowing room for him to feel the weight and meaning of his own being. He does not fall in love because of what you give. He falls in love because of what he experiences when he is present with you. And this experience cannot be constructed, manufactured, or carefully orchestrated. It is born in subtle gestures, in the spaces between your words, in the silence you allow him to inhabit, without filling it with your need for reassurance. It is in the way you carry yourself when you are not performing for him, when you are not bending, not anticipating, not proving that your love is enough. A man recognizes true significance when he feels he contributes to something beyond utility, beyond comfort, beyond fleeting desire. The moment he realizes that his presence, his choices, his very being matters in a way no one else can replicate, his heart begins to open, not because you have earned it, but because he wants to claim it as his own. This is why so many women experience the ache of being everything to someone who never fully returns. You may have given your mornings your laughter, your care, your attention. You may have become a sanctuary, a partner, a constant. And yet, he may still drift, still look elsewhere, still keep a door open for the comfort of options. It is not because you failed. It is because love cannot be coerced, cannot be rationed, and cannot be demanded. Male love especially requires a space for him to invest, to create, to feel the weight of his choices. Without that space, he remains in the realm of convenience, of comfort, of easy admiration, but never true connection. And the heartbreak deepens when women taught by culture and history to give endlessly mistake this comfort for love. They confuse loyalty with desire, presence with significance, care with irreplaceability. But a man can have all of these things and still not love. He can bask in the warmth of your devotion, be comforted by your understanding, and even speak words that feel like promises while his heart remains untouched. The quiet truth is that the more you show that everything is already given, the less he feels the need to fight, to invest, to claim. You become a world already complete, and in completeness there is no stirring of risk, no trembling of loss, no need to rise to the challenge of love. This is the paradox of intimacy. True connection does not arise from endless giving, but from a balance of presence and absence of availability and independence of care and restraint. It is in the subtle creation of a space where he feels that what he brings to you, that what he chooses for you, has impact, has weight, has meaning. It is in letting him contribute to the shared story, to the rhythm of your lives together, without removing the mystery, without removing the stakes, without replacing his role with your own. Only in this space can significance emerge, and only then can love grow roots that dig deeper than admiration or convenience. Many women do not recognize the quiet sabotage they perform in love, the ways in which devotion can paradoxically block the very thing they desire most. Excessive care, constant accommodation, preemptive problem-solving, all these acts, though born of love, create a comfort zone that dulls emotional stakes. A man no longer risks losing you because he never had to fight to earn your presence. It was already granted. And with that ease comes distance, a subtle drift from heart to habit, from connection to consumption. Love to be real requires friction, challenge, and significance. It requires the delicate tension of two whole beings recognizing and responding to one another, not simply coexisting. The challenge, then, is profound and subtle. To awaken love, you cannot act to create it. You cannot force it with deeds, charm, or devotion. You can only become fully yourself, whole and present, and allow him to step into the space you have consciously left open. And when he does, when he meets that openness with his own willingness to be seen, to contribute, to invest, a bond forms that is unshakable. It is a quiet, invisible transformation, not immediate, not loud, but unmistakable. It is the moment when he cannot imagine a life without you, not because you begged him, but because he has discovered the depth of his own significance reflected in your presence. There is a subtle alchemy in the way a man begins to feel indispensable, and it is one of the most profound mysteries of human connection. It is not the dinners you cook, the texts you send, or the laughter you give freely that moves him into the territory of true commitment. It is the sense that he matters in a way that cannot be replicated or replaced. It is in the spaces where he realizes that your life carries him in its rhythm, not because he is required to, but because he chooses to. When he experiences that the shift is invisible but seismic, Suddenly, he is present not because he has to be, but because he wants to be. He invests not because he is instructed, but because he recognizes that his choices resonate, that his presence has weight, that his heart has been invited to meet yours fully. And yet reaching this space requires a delicate courage that few women are taught. It requires knowing yourself fully, your own worth, before seeking it through the eyes of another. It is the difference between giving to fill a void and giving from a place of abundance, between loving to be needed and loving to be whole alongside someone who is also whole. Too often, women are encouraged to prove their value, to shape themselves according to another's desires, to perform devotion as if it were currency in a transaction that was never theirs to negotiate. The heartbreak lies not in the loss of someone, but in the erosion of self that occurs when giving becomes a measure rather than an expression. There is a lesson hidden in this quiet struggle. The men who are truly capable of deep love are not stirred by perfection or endless effort. They are stirred by significance, by a feeling that they have a unique, irreplaceable place in your life. They are moved by moments when they sense that their presence shifts the tide, that their choices matter, beyond convenience, beyond habit, beyond surface desire. When they feel that they are contributing something meaningful to a life that is already whole, something unseen and vital. Love becomes an active force, a pulse that cannot be ignored. But this is not easily granted. Many women, though they are intelligent, strong, and deeply loving, unconsciously obstruct this movement through patterns born of care and habit. Excessive devotion, unrequested solutions, constant guidance, even gentle criticism offered in the name of love can constrict the space a man needs to experience his own significance. What is intended as intimacy can instead signal that the space for him to act, to invest, to make choices that matter is already filled. He may stay, but he stays in comfort, not in the depth of emotional investment. He may admire you, even love the idea of you. But the transformative movement of true attachment, the trembling, the recognition, the irresistible pull is not awakened. There is an extraordinary tension in this reality to cultivate love that is lasting. A woman must hold herself fully, remain present and available, yet deliberately leave room for him to step in, to act, to contribute. It is not manipulation, nor is it neediness. It is conscious creation of a shared emotional space where significance can arise organically. A glance, a word, a silent acknowledgement can speak volumes because the unspoken sense of meaning is what calls forth the heart. Love begins not in what is done for him, but in what he perceives he gives, in return the quiet weight of his own importance in a shared life. The tragedy and the lesson is that this subtle interplay is invisible to most, and therefore misread as rejection or indifference. The man who leaves or who lingers without true investment is not failing because of your beauty, your devotion, or your loyalty. He is failing only because the conditions for true love, emotional significance, the feeling of irreplaceability, the recognition of depth have not yet been allowed to exist. And yet, the path forward is not despair. It is awakening. It is the rediscovery of your own wholeness, the conscious creation of the space where he can meet you fully, and the gentle understanding that love cannot be manufactured, only mirrored, only reflected back in the fullness of mutual significance. There is a quiet, almost sacred rhythm to love when it is allowed to unfold in its own space. It begins not with grand declarations or endless giving, but with presence, the kind of presence that is fully oneself, neither defensive nor performative, neither anxious nor pleading. It is the presence of a woman who knows her worth without needing validation, who loves not to be seen, but because she already exists as whole. And in that presence, he discovers a mirror, not of flattery or perfection, but of meaning. He sees himself reflected in a way that touches something deeper than ego, something primal and yet profoundly tender. And for the first time, he senses that his being has an impact that cannot be trivialized, duplicated, or taken for granted. And here lies the paradox. The women who awaken this depth of love are often those who appear calm, even distant at times, not because they are cold, but because they are anchored in their own inner lives. They do not chase, they do not beg, they do not over-explain. They offer themselves fully, yet with boundaries, allowing the man to contribute, to act, to leave traces that are acknowledged and treasured. It is in this delicate dance that the invisible trigger of male love is activated. The awareness that to lose this woman would not simply be a loss of comfort or affection, but a profound absence that shifts the emotional gravity of his life. Many women have experienced the painful irony of giving endlessly and still being unseen. Perhaps they have offered affection, devotion, understanding, and presence, only to realize that what was returned was habit, convenience, or polite admiration. And the pain of this is not a reflection of inadequacy. It is the reflection of misalignment. You may be everything he could desire on the surface, yet if he does not feel his own significance in your life, the depth of love cannot arise. It is not what you do for him, but what he perceives he gives, that awakens the bond that transforms desire into devotion. This is why love cannot be coerced, cannot be demanded, and cannot be earned through effort alone. True connection requires a dance of mutual significance, an interplay where both are seen valued and allowed to contribute to something larger than comfort or convenience. The woman who becomes unforgettable is not the one who gives endlessly, but the one who remains anchored in her own essence while creating the space for him to step in, to participate, to feel that his presence carries weight. She is a lighthouse, steady, clear, luminous, yet allowing the light of another to shine alongside her own. And the awakening comes not in acts of service, but in the subtle recognition that love is co-created. It arises in glances that acknowledge effort without demanding it, in conversations that honor thought and feeling, in decisions made together where his voice is not only heard but valued. It is the invisible architecture of intimacy, a structure built not from sacrifice or performance, but from the acknowledgement that each contributes to a shared story, each presence matters, and each choice carries meaning. When he feels this, he does not merely stay. He chooses, he invests, he grows. He loves fully, not because you filled a void, but because he discovered the weight and wonder of being significant in your world. The challenge then is as delicate as it is profound to cultivate this space without fear, to honor your own wholeness while offering a place for him to leave traces of himself, to love without smothering, to give without replacing, to exist without surrendering your essence. And when this is done with consciousness and courage, when love is allowed to unfold in its natural rhythm, the bond that emerges is not fragile or conditional. It is quiet, resilient, unshakable, and alive with the subtle beauty of mutual recognition, a testament to the power of presence, significance, and choice. And in this realization, a profound shift occurs within the heart of a woman. She begins to see the patterns she once mistook for love, the overgiving, the anticipation, the silent exhaustion of endlessly proving herself. She recognizes the heartbreaks not as failures of worth, but as reflections of misaligned energy of love directed toward those who were not yet capable of seeing her in the fullness of her being. And in that recognition, a liberation arises, a quiet, luminous freedom that allows her to reclaim herself, to inhabit her own presence without apology, and to offer connection not as a debt repaid, but as an expression of shared significance. This is the moment when strength and softness merge, when independence does not push him away but invites him closer. She no longer fears that by holding herself whole, she will be abandoned, because she understands that the men who are capable of deep love will recognize and value the space she creates. They will step in, not because they are required to, not because she has exhausted herself proving her worth, but because they experience a call to participate, to invest, to leave a mark upon a life that is already complete in itself. And it is in this interplay, this delicate, invisible choreography of present space and recognition, that love transforms from admiration into devotion, from desire into commitment, from connection into a sacred, enduring bond. There is a quiet beauty in this process, subtle but undeniable. It is not dramatic. It does not shout or demand attention. It is revealed in gestures small and profound, the way he remembers a word you once said, the care he takes in protecting the space you've built together, the decisions he makes that honor not just your comfort, but your essence. It is in the pauses, the silences, the shared glances that carry the weight of unspoken acknowledgement. It is the difference between presence and significance, the difference between being with someone and being known truly and fully in a way that cannot be replicated or replaced. And here lies the ultimate insight, the quiet truth that reshapes understanding of love itself. The women who become unforgettable, who awaken true devotion, do not do so by giving endlessly, by bending, by performing or proving. They do so by being anchored in themselves, by existing fully, by allowing the other to contribute and to matter. They open a space where love can grow organically without force, without calculation, without fear. They are whole yet expansive, steadfast yet inviting, luminous yet allowing the other to shine alongside. It is in this balance that the invisible trigger of male love is activated, not through acts of service, not through loyalty or charm, but through the perception of significance, of meaning, of a shared existence that carries weight beyond utility. And as the heart opens to this truth, the patterns of the past, of exhaustion, of unrequited devotion, of silent sorrow, begin to dissolve. The woman begins to understand that the love she sought, the devotion she longed for, was never a matter of effort alone, but of awakening significance in the one who mattered. She sees that true love is not a transaction, a ledger, or a prize to be earned. It is a living, breathing connection, a resonance of presence, meaning, and choice. And she begins to step forward not in anxiety or need, but in quiet power, knowing that the men who are capable of this love will recognize, honor, and cherish her, not because she gave too much, but because she exists fully, freely, undeniably. This is the dance of love, timeless and profound. And in this dance, a woman learns to let go of what does not serve her heart, to honor her own worth, and to allow the magic of true significance to awaken the devotion she deserves. It is here, in this balance of presence and space, giving and receiving being, and allowing that love becomes not only possible, but inevitable, a quiet force that does not need to be earned, only recognized and shared. If this reflection has touched something deep within you, consider sharing your thoughts in the comments below. Like, share, and subscribe to join a journey where we explore love not as a game, but as a mirror of our own worth, presence, and depth. And remember, the one who sees your significance does not demand it. He recognizes it, cherishes it, and chooses you in full awareness.